I hate telling this because I don't like to ruin stuff for people, but in all actuality, the pretend we're dead part came from, I was going through a breakup and it was devastating. And I just had to tell myself, okay, I've just got to pretend that this person's dead. And it's not like I wanted that person dead. I was just like, it was the only way I could cope, to stop focusing on and obsessing over thinking about what this person was doing, So it was like, okay, I just have to pretend they're dead. I just have to pretend they're dead for my own sanity. And I was like, pretend they're dead. I'm not going to write a song about that. But pretend we're dead, I like that. Pretend we're dead, like a lot of my songs, or like many of my songs, I don't think there's any chord changes in it. It's all right. The chord progression is the same throughout the song. So the vocals change between, the melody line changes between the verse and the chorus, but there's never a chord change. So I had this cool sounding chord progression, and I had the riff, da 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 da. I had that, and I had the chord progression. And usually with the way we write, we usually have the music first, and then the lyrics are written to that. And so when we pretend that we're dead, and so that came into my head, and then so I had the chorus, and then I kind of wrote I was like, okay, pretend we're dead. That's like apathy, right? So okay, I'm going to write a song about apathy, because that was another thing I was struggling with at the time, because it was so frustrating, because a lot of people my age, they didn't even vote, so it was just, and I've always been raised to be kind of a bit of an activist and stuff. And it would frustrate me that people, who I thought were really cool and stuff didn't even vote. And I thought it was like, what the fuck, man? That's like the least you can do, So it was about apathy. Sometimes when I write so quietly that it's not for me to project loudly. Sometimes you write a song and it should have been in a higher key for you to really belt it out, and it didn't really seem like this needed a shouting thing. And, the vocal is kind of a little bit of a deadpan thing. There's not a screaming moment in it. It's just kind of, in a way, it's sort of appropriate for a song about apathy. It's a little bit of a deadpan, but that was not intentional. It was really just the key it was in and the melody of the track. We would record, and then I'd get a cassette to listen to at night back at the house. And I thought, it'd be cool if Dee went, come on, come on, come on, come on. Because, we loved Public Enemy, and we loved, what I mean? And I think she actually, the way she sang it was just very Public Enemy. It's just the way that it came out from her. That's definitely kind of a hip hop influence in there, which is kind of funny. And we didn't mean it to be funny, but when I kind of chuckle at that when I hear that, because it does sound kind of Public Enemy. And then also, to do the call and response with Susie, when we pretend that we're dead, pretend we're dead, I thought it was cool to have a deadpan response to that very melodic, sing-songy chorus vocal. if it's more pop, it's not Butch's fault or to Butch's credit that much. I mean, true, Butch did encourage us to be hooky and melodic, and he definitely thought Pretend We're Dead was hooky, and he liked the title a lot. He thought it was evocative of a lot of things. He thought it was a cool title. He liked it a lot. Sometimes it's kind of like, oh, ahead of time, oh, hey, that might be a single, or that might be, and it doesn't always work out that way. But with this one, it did pretty much work out that way. Like, it was the first thing he latched on to. But he gave each song on this record the loving attention that it deserved. And every song turned out cool. And a lot of them sound hooky and poppy. And I mean that in the best sense. I love bubblegum. I prefer catchier stuff than to really heavy stuff. I mean, I like that too, but I've always had that side, which I think I repressed a little bit. Another thing that's kind of interesting about Pretend We're Dead, Butch and I were just remastering it with Howie Weinberg, the guy who originally mastered it, because we're putting out a 30th anniversary of this album. But we were listening to Pretend We're Dead in the mastering studio, and I was like, it's so funny how the riff, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, sounds like it's a synthesizer. But it was not a synthesizer. We just had so many pedals on it that it didn't even sound like a guitar anymore. It sounded fuzzed out, but also kind of synthed out. And it's just very funny because it is indeed a guitar. When we were recording Pretend We're Dead, we had fun with the outro. We were like, how about if Susie plays a backwards solo? That would be really cool, And like, playing a backwards solo is much more difficult than you think it is, because first she had to write something that would sound good backwards and then learn how to play it backwards, and then Butch played it backward. You know what I mean? It's not that easy. You think George Harrison, it was a breeze, but it probably wasn't even a breeze for George Harrison or whoever played backward solos. But so we decided to get it like psychedelic sounding at the end with that backwards solo. I earlier in our career, I did the cardinal sin of shitting on the hit. And don't shit on your hit, because that song means a lot to a lot of people, but like back in the day, like we used to have our roadie come out and start ironing or start vacuuming on the stage on that outro solo, because it was just like, it was just the grunge way to do things at the time, was to like make fun of your hit, because there was probably a bit of guilt, major label guilt over having a hit, or some, a punk rock response to having a hit, which is really stupid. But on our reunion tour, we do not shit on our hit, and we play it with all the heart and soul that it deserves. It is a generational anthem for sure, and I can see it in the audience faces, and it's like, we treat it with a lot of respect these days. A lot of the bands that came out of Sub Pop, had this like, tongue-in-cheekness about mainstream or that kind of stuff, and so Nirvana did that shit too, and it was all just kind of our way of having fun with this mind-blowing place we were at in the mainstream all of a sudden. And it was like, oh my God, this is like ridiculous, because stuff like MTV and getting on the radio was just so far-fetched for all of us, And so we got into absurdity with some of our live shows. But now I treat things differently when we perform. It's much more for the audience as opposed to our own little insecurities about having a about having a hit,